Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode we're going to be talking about college football Week 3 action. We're going to highlight one game this week. There are other games this week, but I wanted to highlight just one just because this week was kind of hectic and I didn't have enough time to really catch up on the prospects at Miami. But we're just going to go through the players, at least the top 5 prospects of the week, and then, of course, get into a little bit of the Louisville versus Clemson matchup, which I think is a very underrated matchup this week. In fact, to me, it's the best matchup this week, even though Miami and Florida State fans might hate that, but I feel like it is, and I'll go into some reasons why. But first off, let's start with the top 5 prospects of the week. At least the thumbs up prospects. So going through this week, I didn't see a ton of amazing players, although I did see a few. And these are a couple of those guys. So first off, we'll start with Will Hernandez, the offensive guard out of UTEP. Watched the Oklahoma game of him in particular, and he is incredible. Just incredibly powerful, flexible, strong hands. Grip strength on this guy is amazing. Like, it rivals Quentin Nelson in terms of grip strength for offensive guard. And he just has the total package with this guy. He is a guard. He plays at UTEP. He may not be a day one selection because of those sort of things, and he also might not test amazing. But I just think in terms of his flexibility, and also in terms of just his grip strength, I think he has a good shot to be a top guard in this draft class, and may end up being the second best guard to Quentin Nelson when it's all said and done once the draft season starts. And then, of course, another guy, running back Philip Lindsay out of Colorado. He is a very fun running back to watch. He reminds me a lot of Justin Fargas. Not as athletic as Justin Fargas, but similar in terms of playing style and just the way he wins. He can catch the football out of the backfield, pretty tough and gritty when it comes to pass protection, and can run the football as well. So he's definitely a running back prospect to watch who could emerge as a very good day 2, day 3 value for a team that's looking for that type of prospect. The third thumbs up prospect of the week, we have Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. He's another guy I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. But this guy has it all. He pretty much high football IQ, can play the run very well. I see him more as a 3-4 outside linebacker at the next level, at least a 3-4 rusher because of size. Like, he's not a guy who has incredible amounts of length, but what he does have is very good quickness. He's a very powerful player, and on top of that, he actually moves fairly well, sideline to sideline. For a guy his size, and again, very, very high football IQ. So I think that he's a pass rusher that could become a first-round player this year. He's only a redshirt sophomore, but I do see him already in that first-round mix just because of how impressed I was with just his overall football IQ and just his combination of power and everything else like that. And then we get to the next prospect in Mark Andrews, tight end out of Oklahoma. Everybody's talking about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is amazing. I did a video on Baker Mayfield in the past. You can look up Baker Mayfield analytics into YouTube, and I did a video on him, and I think he's definitely an amazing prospect, if not easily the top prospect at Oklahoma. But Mark Andrews is just a tight end to watch because I think he's cementing himself as a potential top tight end in this class. Has that sort of classic tight end physique, fairly powerful after the catch. Used a lot like Jay Samaro. That might be the biggest knock with him, is that he doesn't really line up in line that much, doesn't really block in line that much, is more so like a spready type of tight end prospect. But I just really like his film from a pass catching perspective. I think he showed out pretty well in the last 2 games against Ohio State and UTEP, and I think that he's a guy to watch going forward because I think he has the potential to be one of the top tight end prospects in this class when it's all said and done. And then the final prospect of the week, the final thumbs up prospect of the week, is Anthony Winbush, the pass rusher out of Ball State. Out of all the pass rushers that I've seen this year so far on tape, he's by far the most athletic one I've seen. He's fast, he's explosive, but not very tall. He doesn't have a ton of length. He doesn't have a ton of height, but I was very impressed with just his overall athleticism. I think he's a guy that has the potential to, like Farrell, I think he has the potential to be a very big riser, and may not be a first rounder because of where he plays at Ball State, but definitely could be in the conversation as a first round prospect if he kills it in the draft process, because just a tremendous athlete overall and really showed his stuff in that particular game. So now on to the game of the week. And the game of the week for this show is the Clemson versus Louisville game. This is a very interesting matchup. Clemson very defensive dependent, while Louisville is very offensive dependent, but they definitely have some defensive players as well. Starting with the Clemson side of things, I think the number one Clemson player that you should check out in this game is Clelin Ferrell. Again, very powerful player with explosiveness, speed, and he's probably the smartest defensive player at Clemson from what I've seen so far. So very impressed with him. Austin Bryant is his tag teammate on the other side. He's not quite as athletic. He has more length. He plays a little bit more solid. He had 4 sacks last week, but a lot of them were coverage sacks. In fact, one of the sacks, the quarterback was running out of bounds, and then he tagged him out. So that should kind of tell you the 4 sacks weren't as loyal or legit as you might think. But I do think he is an impressive player. I think he has the potential to be better than Kevin Dodd was as sort of a day 2 prospect. I think he has a solid base as a number 2 pass rusher at the NFL level, and I think this is a good showcase game for him and what he does. Then, of course, you have Christian Wilkins, a defensive tackle. He's definitely going to have a big day, or should have a big day in this matchup as well. Vance Smith is also a pretty impressive safety in terms of just his overall tackling style, and I think he's going to be really important to making sure that that Lamar Jackson doesn't get too many runs and stuff like that. I'm not sure if he'll be the spy per se, but he definitely has some of the athleticism chops to do that. And of course, on the offensive side, Mitch Hyatt, pretty good hand usage overall as an offensive tackle / offensive guard, but is not the most athletic guy. And then of course, Deion Kane at wide receiver is still trying to figure stuff out, but I do like his height, I do like his length, I do like those other aspects. And then we get to Louisville. And before we get to Lamar Jackson, in terms of my general thoughts, you start out with, of course, Jari Alexander at cornerback. Pretty impressive, length type of cornerback. Not the most athletic guy overall, but definitely can play a zone kind of system and thrive in that. Tremaine Washington, the other corner on the other side, I like his competitiveness. I think he's another guy that I think might be a riser as well. Into a day 2, day 3 kind of mix, because he's fairly competitive. He's also fairly athletic, and he makes plays in the football, and also pretty smart in coverage. So Tremaine Washington's another guy to see. And then, of course, we get to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, this year, it's no denying he's had a very impressive year. Very good arm strength, as we've seen. He's improved in terms of completion percentage. That's improved a lot. Has been taking what the defense gives to him in a lot of these matchups that he's had. He has played some easy teams at times. I mean, the Purdue game, the defense Purdue was playing was kind of like, fishing in a barrel for a quarterback, so to speak. Very soft zone coverages. He just basically has to look for the open guy and then boom, type of thing. But I think this is probably going to be his best matchup of the season. This Clemson defense is legit. The defensive line is legit. And I think this is going to be a big matchup to kind of show what he can do. Can he thrive tremendously well against a front like this? Because I think there's tons of NFL talent on this Clemson defense. And ultimately, how well he plays against this defense will determine a lot of things in the eyes of NFL evaluators. Because, this is... I'm not going to say that, North Carolina wasn't a legit defense, but, this Clemson D, they have NFL defensive linemen, they have NFL safeties, they just have a lot of talent. So this is going to be a very fun matchup. It's my top matchup of the week. Miami and Florida is, of course, the big sort of, rivalry. And don't get me wrong, that I think is going to be a pretty cool game as well. But I just think when it comes to just NFL prospects and guys that that are gonna do some pretty cool things. Hopefully at the next level. I think this is a must-watch game this week. So again, if you don't watch any other college games this week, if you just want to watch one game this week, I would suggest you check out the Clemson versus Louisville game, because a ton of prospects in this game. I think it's going to be really competitive, and I think the outcome of it is actually going to determine a lot of different things for a lot of these prospects, if any one of them has a big game. So again, my name is James Coburn. You can find my work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well if anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.